President Trump issued pardons and commutations to 11 white-collar criminals. And joining me now is attorney and KUSI contributor Vikas Bajaj to give us some legal insight. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
You know what? We love your legal mind. We love having you here because for us regular folks, what's the difference between pardons and a commutation?
Well, basically, a commutation is the president saying enough is enough. So the sentence may have been for X years. You haven't completed the sentence. I think it's enough as the president of the United States. So I'm going to go ahead and authorize your release. And that's what we saw today with the release of the former governor. So, and then a pardon, on the other hand, says, well, I'm not saying you're innocent, but I don't believe that the conviction was righteous, so that you can now vote, you can run for office, and potentially have your right to bear arms. So commutation, I like to say around our dinner table, as we did last night, that's just saying enough is enough. Your timeout has already lasted its course. A pardon says, well, I believe that there's a much greater injustice that's done with the case, and I don't believe it's right.
Well, what does this say as far as how the jury found and how the courts ruled versus what the president then decided to do?
Well, that's a very great question, because one would perhaps say that's subverting a jury, and that a jury says, hey, this person's guilty and I believe X amount of years is appropriate. But when you look at it practically, most of the individuals who are given any form of clemency, which includes a reprieve, it includes a pardon, it includes a commutation, as we saw here recently, most of these individuals have not asserted their right to a jury trial. So they haven't actually gone to trial, been convicted, and also most jurisdictions in the federal system in and of itself does not give the jury the obligation or the discretion to pronounce sentence. So in many ways it is a good argument that it may fly in the face of the system of guilty pleas or guilty convictions or verdicts, but the judges are the only ones in the federal system that have the right to conduct a sentencing, in comparison to some states. In California, it's the judges only. In a state like Texas, for instance, a jury who hears the facts of the case may come back and say, yes, it was attempted murder or murder, but it's so mitigated that I believe the sentence should reflect that. Again, the California system is analogous to the federal system, so only judges have that right. So it wouldn't really be thumbing the nose at the constituency, the people, the citizenry. It would be thumbing the nose at the federal judge that issued the sentence in that case. And as we know, once we have jurisdiction over federal cases, and clemency in this regard is only for federal cases, not state convictions, only federal, many times one would be absolutely hard-pressed to argue that many prosecutions and surely sentences are a sign of the political time. And so once that tide changes, well, then maybe there's a different logic in the White House as to what should be criminalized and what should not. If we look at some of the commutations that we've seen so far, we have individuals who are not in any way politically connected. I think the Trump administration and President Donald Trump has issued 35 total acts of clemency, pardons plus commutations. And you look at the past President Barack Obama, that number is almost 2,000. And so you look at George Washington, our first president, that was 16. And you see through the creation of the Constitution to try to make it apolitical, how that had slowly evolved into a political animal with politics, and the number, we would say, continues to increase. Now, President Obama, if I may take just an additional moment, is an anomaly because his total number is almost 2,000. I believe it's 1,927 or somewhere around there. Now, President Trump has only issued almost 35, okay, in almost 4 years of his presidency. Clinton, in the Clinton administration, they authorized 400. It's very interesting, and I encourage all of our wonderful viewers to take a look just on any government website, and you'll be able to find out who was the recipient of these acts of clemency. Sometimes when you see these recipients who have the same name, last name as the president, that should raise some eyebrows. But that's the political world we live in.
And here I thought you were going to come on and give me all this insight which you did on, on commutation versus pardon, and yet you have just sparked so many questions now in my mind that I'm going to go research and take a look at these numbers. I mean, that is some incredible insight, Vic. Thank you.
Well, when you go from 200 to 400 to 2,000 and down to 2 digits, at least it merits some serious discussion.
Very interesting. All right. Well, this discussion is no doubt going to continue. Thanks so much for coming in tonight.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.